want to sort out is what's day-to-day conflict between children, which absolutely is something we want to help them with, and what's bullying, because how we help as parents and schools looks very different for those two. I think of conflict in some ways as sort of the common cold of being a human being. You know, it happens, we don't like it, we can't seem to stamp it out. There are things we can do to make it better, there are things we can do to prevent it, but it's a reality of life. I separate that out in my thinking from bullying, which is, you know, what we're describing, where one child is victimizing another child who is unable to defend themselves. And that's more like pneumonia. You know, it's serious, it's very dangerous, it has to be treated, you have to step in, somebody has to do something, you can't ignore it, you can't hope it goes away. So if we treat everything like the common cold, if we just say, yeah, well, kids don't get along, we're going to miss some very scary, very frightening, severe situations that need to be addressed. And if we treat everything like pneumonia, we're going to actually poorly treat situations that need to be treated in a different way. I think that just normal developmentally, the problem with 7th grade is that kids catch on to how to use and abuse social power, but they don't have the perspective of why they may or may not want to do that yet. So the capacity to use and abuse social power outpaces any reasonable thinking about whether or not I should.
I said, you know, I found out something today. I found out that you're a bully. And what he said just shocked me. He said, finally, you figured it out. Mom, I'm stuck in it. I mean, it all started with just horsing around, and now I have all these people that count on me every day to pick on these kids. They love watching. I can't stop. Every day I lay in bed and I say, I'm not going to do it again tomorrow. And I do. I go, do you think you can't go to school tomorrow and act totally different? He goes, I can't, I've tried. So we did ultimately have to end up changing schools because he couldn't overcome his own expectations that he had set up for himself.
When you're talking about the difference that schools can make, that schools can't do that independently. It is a community effort. It is a family effort. It is parents and children around the dinner table setting norms against that behavior and then carrying that to larger groups in the community and carrying that into the school. And that all together, changes can be made to ensure the emotional and physical safety of all of our students.
I think, you know, when to worry, right? When to say this is not just yucky 7th grade, regular 7th grade, is when a child's being victimized, when a child cannot protect themselves. I also worry terribly about children who do not have friends. I think that, you know, we have to accept that meanness, unfortunately, is going to happen in the school day, and to make every effort we can to make sure that every child is connected to some other child in their classroom.
Someone outside, it could be a church group, it could be a drama group. You know, the kid might be a little quirky and they have to find their peeps out there somewhere, and you can help them find them. And once they have that group of accepting people, they can make it through the school day, even if they were bullied, and they can call up their peeps or text or whatever later. So that's what you have to do, is kind of bolster them and give them that social support.
The other thing I would not underestimate is how much relief kids get by just dumping stuff on their parents. That by middle school, I think children increasingly share their day by complaining about their day to their parent, because I think they want to tell you about what's happened, but they don't want to seem babyish about it. And I think there's two things we can do to check how we should react. One is, does your child seem to feel better when done? You know, do they do it and then you feel terrible and then they like go off and are in a really good mood? It worked, right? You've done your job, they are good to go. If you're still not sure, you can say, do you just need to dump, or do you want my help with this? They'll tell you the truth. And most of the time, they will say, I just need to dump.
We talked about not every little slight, every little thing. You have to say, you need to toughen up. You need to let some of this like water off a duck's back. And they maybe understand what the motivation was behind the mean comment or the thing, and say, hey, that kid was having a bad day. Or I feel sorry for that kid that they have to be mean to me to feel good about themselves or something, and just kind of go about their day. I mean, so that's what, you know, we want these thick skins for our kids, because they're going to need that for their whole life.
But it is the culture shift that people are talking about related to bullying. We need a cultural shift, we need a change. This is how you do it, by creating environments in which being empathic, being kind, being caring is rewarded, celebrated, understood, and expected. That this is simply what we do.
Like some of the really popular kids might have lots of more superficial friends, and these more empathic kids will usually have a smaller group of closer friends. So that is how they're rewarded in the depth of their relationships.
Having adults on Facebook is first and foremost absolutely essential. And it's not because kids are bad. It's because kids are impulsive. What they act as is speed bumps. We want them to think, ooh, I'm about to do this, but my uncle's going to see it, so I'm not going to do it. They need something that slows it down.
Instagram also, which is like the latest big thing. I think one thing, I agree, you have to monitor it. What's neat about Instagram though is I've seen a lot of cases where someone will start bullying a kid and put like, you're ugly or something, and then all the upstanders or bystanders will jump in and say, oh no, you're pretty, oh that was mean, you know, and all these things. So they're kind of sticking up for each other. I've seen a ton of that behavior.
I think one of the things that we found to be really successful in a school setting is to contact the kids the way they contact each other and ask those questions. If I pull a student into my office and say, you look upset, let's talk about those feelings. No one's talking to me. And it's going to go around the middle school and no one will talk to me for the rest of the week about what went on in there. But if I email a student and I say, looks like some things are going on that might not be the way we need them to be. If you feel like you want to talk to somebody about that, these are the folks who might be available. Or if I text message a student, you looked bothered at the end of the day. What's going on? Depends on the relationship you have with the child, but if you can connect with them the way they connect with their peers, you can get into that network.
As a parent, I've made a rule that if they see somebody else being bullied, they have to do one of three things. They either have to ask the child who's being victimized to just come play with them, or stand up to the bully if they feel like that's a possibility, or go get an adult right away. And that I have said, that is the expectation, and I do not care about how you feel about the child who's being victimized. That may be the child you like least in your class. That is absolutely our expectation.
But the adults need to come in a way that is rational and calm and effective and filled with information for those in the school setting or in whatever setting that allows those folks to intervene successfully. The more that's presented to us, the more we can do in solving the problem or in helping the students to resolve the issue together, which is the primary goal.
Talk to your children, listen to them, most importantly, listen to them, know their friends, know the stories of what's going on in their lives, try to get to know as many other parents as you can, so you have a network of people that you know and can go to more easily so it's not so daunting. And just be there when your kid wants to talk, like in the car or loading the dishwasher or whatever. Just try to be present for your child and don't always be hooked up to your devices or running off doing this or that.
And he has completed a 4-year college, and he is gainfully employed. He is so my hero because he has overcome so much. And he has apologized to almost all of them. He has made amends to almost all of them and is friends with those kids today. So it's worked out, but it was quite the journey.